Hey, everybody. It's Kimberly from Keep the Tail Wagging, a blog about raw feeding, raising dogs naturally, and my life with dogs. Hopefully, I don't have a huge echo going on, but I have Mike. And I have a fun topic to go over with you. And I've been recording video after video after video about this and decided, you know what? I'm going to scrap them all and just go live and wish for the best. So I'm waiting for folks to come on and then we'll go ahead and get started. But for the replay, I just want to I guess ramble. So do me a favor, make some comments and let me know that you're here. Tell me where you're from. Do you feed raw? Do you not feed raw? And my biggest question to you is 95% of pet diets are lacking at least one crucial nutrient. And I want you to tell me, is that true or is that false? So put that in the comments as well. True or false, 95% of pet diets, and I'm going to have I don't know if I can do a comment because of course, why would, there we go. I can do a comment. Hey, Michael, raw feeder here. So I'm going to ask a question again, and I'm going to ask it a few times. 95%, I can actually do copy and paste. True or false? So you guys let me know what you think. And I'll see if I can put that in listen, my dogs, I'm going to hope that my dogs don't start going absolutely bonkers, but we'll see. So, oh yay, there's a Q&A. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So, okay, 19 people. Let's talk. Michael, I love it. True of you are not rotating proteins. Tony, hey, what's up, Tony? I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Carrie, hi from CT, Connecticut. Feeding freeze-dried raw small batch, probably true, just like our food. Can I vote? Aaron, yes, you can, even though I know you know the answer. So small batch, yeah, my cat eats small batch, loves it. Hi, Judy. So this is just an impromptu YouTube, Facebook Live, because I already spoke about Aaron about this. This is actually going to be on an upcoming podcast, and I will be sure to put a link to our podcast in the comments so you guys can check it out. But what I'm really excited about is just what I've learned so far. So I still have a lot of homework to do, but so it's called the Alternative Dog Moms. Oops. And here it is. And I do this every week with Aaron, who is also the host of Believe in Dog podcast. So that is that. Destiny White. Hey, Destiny, I will be giving you a shout out. I have a 5-month-old Doberman, confused. People keep telling me I have to feed puppy formula or he will grow too quickly. Okay, we will cover that. So let's get started. I'm going to try and do some screen sharing, but let me just start from the beginning. A few years ago, I was over on the Merkala website reading an article by Dr. Karen Becker, and I meant to actually bring up the website so that you guys, so I can read it to you or show it to you. And I don't think I can find it. I'm trying to quickly think off the top of my head of where I would have put the link at, but I honestly don't know. But basically in this blog post that she wrote, one statement within the article was, oh, thank you, Destiny. I appreciate it. One of the statements in the article was to the effect of, there was a recent study that shows that most homemade diets don't meet an adult dog's nutritional needs. And people who do balance over time, they think that that's how they're getting around it. So Michael, looking at you, looking at me too. And no, she believes that no, we're not covering all of our bases by balancing over time or doing variety. So that was the first time I saw a mention of a study. And I was just like, wow, when was this study done? And in my head, I was just searching sort of casually for it, but never really intently looked for it until I did a review for The Farmer's Dog recently. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see everything that I'm looking at. We have a lot to go over. I'm going to try to keep this at 20 minutes. Hopefully we'll be done by 7:30, but I have a lot to show you and I'm really excited. So stick with me. So let's go to the Chrome tab and let's go to here. This is the The farmer's dog frequently asked questions. So I have it highlighted here. And it's like, why can't I just cook dog food at home? You can, but recent research found 95% of recipes online to be lacking in crucial nutrients for dogs. So serious complications from nutrient deficiencies and more commonly overdosing could arise if a recipe hasn't been properly calibrated. For those interested in home cooking, the Farmer's Dog offers a DIY program. So, and there's there and there and there. And that is awesome. I love it. And if you actually just Google 95% of recipes, you will find this is what we're going to go over. This is an article about the study. And Erin was kind enough to actually email the study to me, but I haven't read it just yet. Let's close these. Oh, this is nothing. This was supposed to be another place. But here, are homemade diets a viable alternative to prepared pet food? And let's see if I can find, if they have the quote here. Nah, yep, here we go. University of California. So there is, I'm sorry, I'm not really prepared, but here we go. A study at the University of California Davis School of Veterinary Medicine analyzed 200 different recipes for home prepared dog foods. Recipes were selected from websites, veterinary textbooks, and pet care books. The findings highlighted that 95% of the recipes were deficient in at least one essential nutrient, and 84% were lacking in multiple required nutrients, whilst providing a nutritional balanced diet from home is not possible. See? These results show it is, I feel like they said is possible. I don't, it's sort of like they're saying it's not possible. These results show it is a complicated task with very little margin for error. Calorie control can also be difficult. So I agree with part of this. I disagree with another part of this. So, and I think you guys will understand why. Again, here's another website, and I'm just going through, this is all over the place, and somehow we missed it. Or at least I did. According to studies, 95% of homemade dog food recipes have nutrient deficiencies, which often causes health issues and veterinary bills over time. I'm going to go ahead and close these ones that I don't need. So, oh, and there, we're watching me. We don't need to do that. So let's go on over to the original article. Homemade dog food recipes can be risky business, study finds. So this is actually from 2013. I think in 2013 is when I actually started feeding raw. And I started writing about raw in 2014. So I think one reason why I never heard about the study is because it just wasn't on my radar. But I still think it's a really important thing for us to chat about. So let's look at this. In what is thought to be the largest ever nutritional evaluation of recipes for home prepared dog foods, the researchers found that very few of the 200 recipes analyzed provided all of the essential nutrients in amounts adequate for meeting established canine health standards. Some owners prefer to prepare their dog's food at home because they feel they have better control over the animal's diet. Ding. Want to provide a more natural food or simply don't trust pet food companies. Ding, ding. Said Jennifer Larson, an assistant professor of clinical nutrition at the William R. Pritchard Veterinary Medical Teaching Hospital at UC Davis and lead author of the study. So you can, I will, when all of this is done, I will put links to the pertinent things so that you guys can see it. But right here, Larson with her partner, Jonathan Stockman, he's a second-year resident, selected 200 recipes from 34 different sources. So this was already talked about. But here, they found that only 9 of the 200 recipes, including 8 of the 9 written by veterinarians, provided all essential nutrients in concentrations that met the minimum standards established for adult dogs by AAFCO, while only 5 recipes, all written by veterinarians, provided essential nutrients in concentrations that met the NRC requirements for adult dogs. Yeah, Rodrigo is drinking right there. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he drinks so loudly. It's like insane. So let's stop sharing for a second. Get me over here. Hey, it's me again. So let's go. Let's see. So there's my sister again. I love you too. I love her. Your brother sucks. Yeah, he does. Hello. It was a press release from UC Davis announcing the study. Yes, Erin, thank you. So this is so fantastic to me because I wish that we had more information like this, because I think it's going to be a great conversation and it's a great, your screen didn't share. Really? At all? You guys didn't see any of the articles? That's unfortunate because I was showing stuff. Ugh. Well, damn it. Tell me again. I mean, I'm doing a screen share right now. Here, maybe I have to do this. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I don't know. So tell me if you guys see this now. And I guess I can't even see you guys, so you guys to tell me to see it. But this is what I was talking about earlier. So this is from the Farmer's Dog website, which is where I found this quote. I mean, it's not the first time I saw the quote, but it's, you know, one of the references. And so I reached out to Farmer's Dog when I was doing the review to ask them, where did you get this quote? And then they pointed me to this article or press release. And you're going to listen to who's playing with the toy? Apollo. He's killing another toy. So this is from the article. And so I'll put links to both of these in the notes below. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen, and hopefully you guys did see that. Nope, still nothing. No, not seeing anything, but wow, I'm shocked because didn't share what goes into app. Okay, so I'm just going to give up on showing the screens, and I'll just put the links in the notes and you guys can check it out later. So the problem, and I'm this is, it doesn't matter. Darn it. I'm so disappointed because I really wanted you guys to see this because I have other things that I need to show you. Gosh, and this, okay, guess what? We're not going to do a live. I would love to, but I need you guys to see the screens because that's the whole point of this, because I need to show you guys my nutrient spreadsheet and I need to show you all these other things. And unfortunately, since I don't know what the problem is. So maybe you guys can tell me, tell me now if you can see it, if you can see, like I'm looking at the animal diet formulator. So I'm going to leave this up here for a few seconds. You guys let me know if you can see this and I'll just download this and edit it if I have to. So Forks and Sports. Hey, Forks and Sports. So let me know if you guys see anything. No. Okay. So you guys don't see the animal diet formulator, which sucks because yeah, this is what I needed to show you guys. So unfortunately, since I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do because it's just all I see is you. Yep, I'm not quite sure what to do because she's oh, is this what I'm doing? Okay, there we go. We kind of have an okay, this is what we're going to do, okay guys? Hopefully this works. Sorry for all of the mess ups, but I deleted a lot of the tabs that I had open earlier. But I'm hoping that now you can see the frequently asked questions page next to my face. So can you see? Yeah, I'm sure you guys saw that. Yes? Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is where I saw it. So this is not the first place that I saw it. As I said earlier, I saw a mention of this study by Dr. Karen Becker. And I remember when I first read that, I was thinking, what the heck is she talking about? What study? I have no idea. I mean, I'm doing a great job feeding raw. You know, no one asked to test my food and where are they getting these recipes and blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure a lot of you kind of understand sort of the attitude of, well, where did they get this information? Well, this is like a perfect example of why when people give us things and they're like giving it to us as fact, we really need to ask them to provide support. And for those of you guys who often deliver facts, and I do air quotes because not all of them are facts. If someone asks you for support, don't get offended. It's just that we all want to be looking at the same stuff and learning from the same places so we can actually have an apples to apples conversation. So this is the article. And if you look here over on the Farmer's Dog, it says 95% of recipes online they're found to be lacking in crucial nutrients for dogs. But this statement is kind of missing a little bit of context, not much, but a little bit, because it says down here, overall, 95% of the 200 recipes examined. So to me, the fact that 200 recipes were examined, that's a significant number of recipes, but we still have to ask, what were these recipes? How many were raw? How many were cooked? Where did they come from? What was the list of sites? So Erin was awesome to find the study. So I still am going to read and share the study. I'll put a link to that so we can actually check that out. But there are questions that we need to ask. And it's not asking to say these people are wrong. It's asking to just give more context, because 95% was lacking in the necessary levels of at least one essential nutrient. Then more than 83% of the recipes had multiple nutrient deficiencies. So, people are using this statement to kind of tell us to stop feeding a raw diet, in my opinion, or to let leave it to the professionals, that those of us who want to do DIY really shouldn't be doing that. And I kind of get it, to be perfectly honest. Destiny, you'll remember this. There was a point in time when, there was a point in time when I didn't really think it was a big deal. I was sort of like, hey, I don't balance my own diet. Why do I need to do this for my dogs? They're fine. I had adult dogs at the time. It's not like I had puppies and was saying this, but still, even if I did have puppies, I'm pretty sure I had the exact same mindset. I didn't actually start diving into balance until, I don't even remember, that was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago, not long ago. And the reason why was because of people like Destiny and other people who encourage me, continue educating yourself, because honestly, when we're feeding raw, we're always learning. There is no end game. We're always learning new things. And so I did. And that's where I want to show this to you. This is what, oh, that's the wrong thing. And that's the wrong thing. So I'm sorry, I'm opening the wrong thing. I thought I had all of this stuff open, but this is my nutrient spreadsheet. So Destiny helped me create this. She provided all of this information. So this is, Sydney has passed, but these are all of our dogs, and this is all of their information. It is based on their weight. And then what I did is I took all of this information, so all of the nutrient requirements based on their weight, and added the nutrients in all the different foods that I fed to my dogs. So I created this several years ago, and it's awesome. I love it. But a lot of people think that, I wish I can keep it up while I'm looking at this. I just like looking at you guys' pretty faces when I'm just looking at me. So that's just arrogant. Anyway, I don't use this to balance my dog's diet. I use this to just educate myself about what goes into my dog's diet. And if you look here, you'll see a bunch of nutrients that are highlighted in yellow. When I was putting this together, these are the 4 nutrients that I found weren't necessarily in everything that I was feeding my dog. So there was a potential for deficiencies in these areas. Again, I do not use this to balance my dog's diet. I just use this to get a better understanding of what goes into the dog's diet. People like Scott J. Marshall are going to really know the ins and outs of everything. That's not me. I don't even have the brain capacity to do what he does. But this is where I started. And thinking back to that article, I'm going to see if I can find it again, to this article, when it talks about the UC Davis article, it talks about these diets. It's really not surprising to me that they found that 95% of 200 recipes were deficient. The problem is, I don't know how many bloggers you guys follow, but in the blogging world for a long time, I would just send out requests for recipes. I got some from veterinarians. I got some from other pet parents. I got some from brands. I never checked to see if they were balanced. I never thought that I had to. I never considered the fact that someone might take one or a few of the recipes and actually use those as their dog's main diet. And I never gave anything much thought. I just thought it was good content, and that was my bad. I have since gone through and deleted most of those recipes. I kept the treat recipes, and then I have some raw recipes, and currently I'm going through my blog and I'm making a notation that these are not balanced. And I'm also explaining what you can add if you were to follow this diet to make it a balanced diet. So the problem, in my opinion, oops, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. The problem, in my opinion, is that when it comes to balancing a dog's diet, and I have learned this by using the animal diet formulator, it's not just about a recipe. It's about your dog's age, your dog's weight, if your dog is neutered or spayed or not, if you want your dog to lose weight or gain weight, if your dog has any health issues, how active your dog is. There are so many things that go into formulating a dog's diet that a random recipe that you buy, like a cookbook online or a recipe on someone's website, that's not going to be balanced for every single dog out there. And I would just go ahead and go forward and say it's not balanced for any dog. Treat it as a treat recipe. So, like for instance, if you want to make a cool meal for your dog for Thanksgiving, that's what those type of meals are for. If you are actually trying to do a homemade diet, do not get free recipes from strangers on social media. I made that mistake years ago. My dogs all got explosive diarrhea for 2 days. I will not do that again. That was like when I was brand new to raw feeding. And even after that, I was still posting bad recipes on my website. Anyway, really be careful when it comes to stuff that you find online, unless you trust the source. The best ways to make sure that you guys are feeding a nutrient complete diet, a nutritionally complete diet to your dogs is to one, I still stand by my video balance is bullshit, because I honestly think that people put way too much stress into balancing their dog's diet. And I'm talking about dogs, not puppies. And it's either making people not want to feed raw or making people super stressed out when they're trying to feed raw, or sending people straight back to kibble. There needs to be some type of middle ground where we encourage people to learn as much as they can without making them feel like they need a doctorate in animal nutrition just to feed their dog. It's really not that complicated in my experience. And I find that a lot of the people that I speak to about switching to either raw or DIY raw are making it way more complicated than it needs to be. And I think it's because of the places that are delivering the message that, hey, most diets out there are not nutritionally complete and this is dangerous. And that can be dangerous. So I am the queen of easy. I love being simple. And I've talked about this a lot, and it is so funny because I get so many questions about it. People get so confused. So I am excited to talk about it live right now so people can go ahead and ask questions. Okay, so one thing that I want to tell you guys, I use a base mix. Around the time that Destiny White and other people were encouraging me to educate myself, and I'm building this nutrient spreadsheet, Dr. HARVEY'S came out with a base mix. They came out with Raw Vibrance first, and then not long later, they came out with Paradigm. So at first I used Raw Vibrance. When Paradigm came out, I started alternating between the two. When Scout was diagnosed with cancer, I just stayed with Paradigm because it's low glycemic, but I can go back and forth if I wanted to. But it's just personal choice. Now, if you have looked at the bag of one of the base mixes, you know that it's basically tells you, you can use meat, and you then hydrate the base mixes like dehydrated vegetables and other nutrients. You hydrate that with hot water and oil. When it's fully hydrated, you mix it with the meat and boom, you feed it to the dogs. If you've actually ever done this, then what you're feeding to your dogs looks like a big green mush with some meat thrown into it. And I didn't like that. And I also have 4 big dogs. So I was going through a big bag of Dr. HARVEY'S Paradigm or Raw Vibrance. I would be going through it very quickly if I followed the instructions on the bag. So thank you to all of you people who pushed me to educate myself. And working on that nutrient spreadsheet, I began to wonder, if there's so many nutrients in meat, so many in the organ meat, and then we have bone, why do I need to use the recommended dosage on the bag? That is for meat only. I'm doing 80-10-10. I can reduce the amount of base mix. So I did. And I fed my dogs that way for 6 months. So at first it was for every 8 quarts of an 80-10-10 diet, I added 1 cup of, I hydrated 1 cup of the base mix and mixed it in. Now I kind of do like a lot less. And I add a little bit more organ meat and other things rather than having it. I just don't want a vegetable heavy diet for my dogs when they're eating on meat days. They have fasting days, which sometimes I do a full fast. Sometimes it's a goat's milk. Sometimes it's bone broth. Sometimes it's vegetables. Sometimes it's a little bit of everything, but it's not meat. And that's another story. So what I started doing was mixing this together. I tested my dogs 6 months after I started doing this way. They came back great. They were slightly low on vitamin B, which I was able to quickly adjust by adding a little more heart to the diet, and we're good to go. I tested them again like a year and a half later, still good to go. So I am comfortable that I'm meeting my dog's nutritional needs. And it is easy. It's so easy to do this. I people keep doubting me. And I'm sure that there are people out there that can do exactly what I'm doing. And for some reason, their dog is missing out on something. Well, that's because all of our dogs are different. So we need to make sure that we focus on the dogs in front of us when we're feeding them. That being said, there is an entire community of people who are nerding out on nutrients. And so I can't imagine that they're feeding their dogs a deficient diet. But even if the folks at UC Davis did that study today in 2022, I wouldn't be surprised if it came back still as 95% of diet, simply because if you go on Amazon and look at dog cookbooks, I happen to know some of those people are not running those recipes through an animal diet formulator. I was actually going to create a cookbook and publish it, and I certainly wasn't planning on doing it. And the reason why I didn't end up doing a cookbook was because I wasn't planning on doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't want, if someone tells you this, if you read this, please don't let it discourage you, because you can feed your dogs a nutritionally balanced meal at home. It's not hard at all. When we're looking at these percentages, we need to think about how big the internet is. If they're getting their recipes from books, from websites, and what was the other thing? It was books, websites, and something else. I can't remember. I'm going to look it up, but it doesn't really matter. But if they are, here we go, from textbooks, pet care books, and websites, think about the number of pet care books that are not written by a veterinary nutritionist. Think about the number of websites or blogs, ding, ding, of people who are posting their own recipes or random recipes that they found on their website without running it through any type of nutritional software. So it's not surprising that 95% of them. I just want to get on here and say, do not let this freak you out. So for those of you guys who are asking me how I'm testing it, I'm going to put a link in the notes, but I use PARSLEYPET, and PARSLEYPET is a company on the East Coast. You basically take hair clippings from your dog. And this is why I did the 6 months later, I tested them, because you need to get 6 months of history on a diet before you test your dogs. So a cool thing, if you have the funds, would be to test them today and then make your change starting tomorrow. And then 6 months later, test them again to see what the difference is. But it costs about $250 per dog to test them. So, and at Christmas time, like Black Friday weekend, it goes down to $200 per dog. So, or you can see if someone has a discount code. I think Dr. Kosher has one. I used to have one, and I'm sure I can find one, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so it is expensive. With 4 dogs, that's $800. There was a time when I had 5 dogs. Yeah, it's a lot of money. So you can either test the dog that you need to know more information on. Like if I were to do a nutrient test today, I would do Scout and Rodrigo. Or please don't test one dog and think that dog covers all dogs. Because like I said earlier, or maybe I didn't, every dog absorbs nutrients differently. So for instance, in my house, if I were to test Zoe and she came back perfect, that doesn't mean that Rodrigo would come back perfect, because he has EPI and he absorbs nutrients differently than all of my other dogs. But what you can do is I test my dogs like every other year, every 2 years, because of the cost. So you can spread it out like that, because at least you have a baseline to look for, or you can skip over that. And I would suggest working with either a meal formulator or investing in the animal diet formulator software. That way you have some recipes that you either create or someone creates for you. You know that at least those recipes have been vetted in against like the NRC guide, and you know that it's doing something. For me, the reason why I wanted to nutrient test my dogs is because I was formulating my own recipes and I was using a base mix. So there's no base mix in my software program that I can use to play around with. That's the only way for me to know that I'm meeting my dog's nutritional needs. Just to make sure, I want to make sure you guys have used PARSLEYPET to test for deficiencies. That was Michael. Yes. So what nutritional program or app do you use? So I use the Animal Diet Formulator, and I'll show you guys that in a second. I'm going to have to plug my computer in because it's about to die. Destiny, I changed foods, brands, DIY so much. I think it would be hard to know what diet is contributing to the results of Parsley Pet. I hope that made sense. Yeah, it does make sense because I do DIY, but I also do commercial raw. But I feel like since I switch my dog's meal, like what they're eating every week, that over time, they should be, especially over a 6-month block of time, if I have a consistent system, I should still be able to tell if their diet is what is it is balanced. And the reports, which I don't have any reports handy to show you, but the reports will tell you what your diet is lacking in. So I mean, unless your diet is lacking in a whole bunch of stuff, and then that's a completely different conversation. But what I found is, like, the first time my diet was lacking just slightly in vitamin B, or B vitamins. And so I first started with a nutrient supplement that Dr. Kosher recommended by RX Vitamins. And I switched over to just adding a little bit more heart meat, starting with pork heart to their diet. And that squared everything away. So that's what you can do, is you just make an adjustment. And that can be just adding a food to the bowl. And if you have to, finding a commercial supplement that you can add to the bowl to cover that nutrient. So hopefully you're fortunate enough to have a diet that only has one or two, if any, nutritional deficiencies. So what's Formulator program you recommend? Let me plug my computer in real quick, because I swear, I'm glad I'm doing this live and I don't have to edit this, because I would be really annoyed with myself, because this has been kind of a hot mess. So can you write it in the notes what formulator you use? Actually, I'm going to show it to you guys. I can't afford that right now, so I will have to emphasize variety and possibly use a base mix more often. Yeah, because it's expensive. Testing your dogs is expensive. But I have something that you can do that is free, and you can figure out what you need. So let me do the screen share and show you guys really quickly. Share, show and stream. There we go. Okay, so this is the Animal Diet Formulator software. And this is what I use. And I do have a video on YouTube showing me going through this. It's not really a true tutorial. It's more of an introduction. You can come over here to learn more about their software. I actually have found it really easy to use. There is a learning curve, but I still really get a kick out of it. These are my recipes, the ones that I've made. I have a professional version, but the only reason why I have that is because I bought this during beta. So I got it at a very discounted price and suffered for like 6 months through their crappy software. And then all of a sudden, this beauty came out. They also have an app. I tried to use it, but I'm just, I'm older and I don't like using my phone for something as big as this. I prefer to use a desktop, and it probably has nothing to do with age. It's probably just preference, but I like to say it's because I'm old now. Anyway, so here's a recipe that I did recently, and I just go on here and I just play around and I add different ingredients and to see if I can get it to be balanced. To me, since these are all pretty much not red and I'm not really worried about these tiny little numbers, I'm like, oh, this is pretty close. This I'd be a little worried about right here, but this is pretty close as long as I'm, in my opinion, feeding variety. Another one that is a lot closer, which shocked the bejeebus out of me. This is one of the ones that's on my website. And I'm like, okay, so it has green tripe, it has zucchini noodles, and it has a raw egg. There's no way that this is balanced. Look at this. All I had to do was add a little canned pumpkin. And although it's a lot of red, the numbers are so tiny. So it's pretty close. I was really surprised. So this is another reason why I don't think it is hard to feed your dogs a nutritious diet, because you never know what you're going to be, like what is meeting your dog's nutritional needs and what isn't. I'm going to see if I can put a link to here so you guys can check it out. But the reason why I wanted to share this is because the Animal Diet Formulator offers a 2-week trial. So if you, here, let me write this down, Formulator, oops. I can't talk and type at the same time. And apparently I can't type either. Wow. This is really bad. Anyway, But if you have time, I would wait until you have time to sit down and look at it. But if you have time over 2 weeks, you can teach yourself the basics of it, watch their videos, and then you can start playing around and maybe make a few recipes for yourself before it expires. And there, you have now made recipes. I actually balance recipes to PDF instead of AFCO. They don't have NRC in the system. Hopefully, it's something that comes in a future update. But I really get a kick out of it. It's taught me so much about feeding a raw diet. But the thing that it taught me, that really surprised me when it shouldn't, was that everything that you add kind of shifts everything else. So if a diet is, if you need to add more zinc, say, to a diet, it's going to shift a few other things. And you're going to have to like sort of do this dance to get everything right. And I make a game of mine. I'm the nerd that treats Animal Diet Formulator software like it's a video game. And my goal is to only have 10 items in a recipe. And at first, that was so hard because I would have 24 to 30 items in a meal to get it to balance. But over time, you start recognizing where you can get different nutrients, and then you can make it fewer and fewer. But another reason why I want to encourage this software is because for those of you, if you are limited on what you get, if you're watching other people feed their dogs and you're like, I don't have access to those things, you can then just add the proteins and the other ingredients that you do have access to and use the software. I mean, it's not going to be 100% perfect. Nothing is, but I think it's going to be the closest way to get there. And what I love about it is since for 2 weeks it's free, that's awesome. Like start over, Thanksgiving weekend. You have a long weekend that you can sit and tell everyone to leave you alone. You'll talk to them at Christmas, and then you can start formulating some meals. So there is that. So I wanted to just share that with you and have you guys just check it out, because I do understand. I am, I admit that it's important that we meet our dog's nutritional needs, especially the puppies, because they are growing and they need every nutrient that they need in their diet. So if someone is telling you, no, you need to feed your puppy a balanced raw diet, they're telling you the truth. You can do this by feeding them commercial raw. You can do this by formulating a diet for a puppy. The Animal Diet Formulator software lets you do all of that. Or you can work with someone who formulates diets. So Scott J. Marshall of Raw Feeding 101, I know that he formulates diet. I'm going to give a shout out to Destiny again. I know she's working on starting a meal formulation business. And I think that is awesome. I think the more people out there that offer this service that are educating themselves, the better it is going to be for the rest of us, because we have plenty of people that we can reach out to and work with. Because like Scott, he gets booked up like you wouldn't believe. So there definitely is a need in the market. I mean, a lot of people are taking really great courses to educate themselves about meal formulation. And I think it's a really great option for people who are new to raw feeding or are concerned about meeting their dog's nutritional needs. So I'm going to see what, thank you to the person who said I don't look old. I really appreciate that. So Destiny says that makes sense. And this is about, feeding different things over time. I've been holding off on getting a test because I wasn't sure. I know on paper everything looks good, but as you said, every dog absorbs everything differently. So would love to know the results with true testing. If you actually end up doing testing, let me know, because I would really, really love to see what you learn. And I will look around and see if I have a discount code. If I do, it's probably something like KTTW50. And you can see if that will give you $50 off of the test now for anyone who wants to try it now. Michelle says, I have a small dog that does poorly on anything but answers. I keep trying others, but she doesn't do as well. In my opinion, feed the dog in front of you. So if your dog does well on answers, then stick with answers. I have learned to listen to my dogs. I mean, I actually, over on my Patreon, I wrote a post about, pet communication and how we're all talking to our dogs. We're talking to our pets all the time. We probably think that we're just making up these voices in our heads. And it's not that I'm having like this really frank, deep down forehead to forehead conversation with my dogs, but we know our dogs and we know when our dogs are trying to tell us something. So if my dogs don't want to eat a certain food, then they don't eat that food. A few months ago, I'm a really big fan of Wild Coast Raw. This is a raw food company out of Olympia, Washington. I love Tyler. He is amazing, and I love his food. Well, his beef recipe, the first ingredient is beef heart. And for those of you guys who don't know, for some dogs, beef heart is very rich and leads to loose stool and diarrhea. Apollo was not a fan of the beef heart, and he would just smell it and back away and wouldn't eat it. And I think another of the dogs did the same thing, and that made me really concerned. Tyler came up from Olympia, not him, but one of his employees, took the food, went and had it tested. It tested just fine. They replaced the box just in case, had the same issue. I sold the food to someone else and just fed them their duck recipe because I lost my source for duck. But recently, I started buying the beef and the duck and mixing them together to see if the dogs will eat them, and they will. So it's like if your dog won't eat something, please don't think that your dog is being picky, even though as humans, that's what we would call it. Our dogs are pretty smart. They have a really strong sense of smell. So if the food is going bad, they're going to smell it long before we do. My dogs will probably still eat it, but they know something that I don't, and I'm going to listen to them. So I know that it can be frustrating because we're basically speaking a different language, but it's definitely worth it, and you will figure it out. I promise you. So, okay. Yeah, okay. Destiny says, I always try to make balanced meals with 10. Thank you. Thank you for validating these. I felt like I was pretty good. Ashley says, I'm at about 14 ingredients per recipe right now. Now I'll try for 10. I wish we had like a group where we can nerd out on this. I love this type of stuff. They're probably, what is it, raw fed and nerdy? I don't think they like me. So I won't go and join their group, but I wish there was another one like it. Courtney, I hope it's okay. I asked, I know there is an NRC, APCO, and other standards of balancing, yet they are all different. Do we know what they need? I've been dying to ask. I hope it doesn't come off rude asking. Courtney, Courtney, you and I are going to have a little bit of a talk right now. I'm going to tell you now. First of all, you ask me the best questions ever. You're never rude. I love when you join a conversation and start talking because you are there. So no, you are not being rude. You are being awesome. So yes, there's the NRC, there's AFCO, there's FDF. The reason why I'm not really a fan of AFCO is, just go and check out Susan Thixton over The Truth About Pet Food. The fact that they call pet feed pet food is an issue. The fact that they will adjust their feeding trials to meet what they want them to be. So they'll remove dogs and things like that. The feeding trials aren't very long. And a lot of their minimum nutrients, it's basically the base of what, like the minimum of what our dogs need. As I understand it, it's just not really something to be proud of. I feel like most raw companies that say that they meet AFCO standards, they're far, beating AFCO standards. So I'm not a fan, but we don't have much else. So it's good that it's there. Hopefully they clean up their act. FDF, which is the UK version, I have been told is more accurate and people respect it a lot more. So that's why I choose the FDF when I do the animal diet formulator. And the NRC is that big, thick book that is very complicated to read. So it's like I'm a Destiny White stalker or something, but she recommended Monica Segal's book. I bought it, and then she told me, Kimberly, that's the old one. You need the new version. So I bought the new version. Thank God I did, because the new version is like over $100 online, except for if you go to Monica Segal's website. She is not trying to fleece people. She still sells her book at a reasonable price, and I highly, highly recommend it. I do not have it handy to show you, but I highly recommend it. Getting all of that information from NRC, and I think using that like I do with my nutrient spreadsheet, which, by the way, is available for free for anyone who subscribes to the Keep to Tail Wagging newsletter. I will put a link in the comments, but I'll also go in later and add links to everything in the notes. But you can get the Excel version or the Pages, which is the Mac version, and just play around with it. The dog weights won't be the same because my dogs weigh between 60 and 75 pounds, but Destiny White is within this discussion on Facebook, and she does charge, just try the code, PARSLEYPET code, for $50 off it. Oh, good, it works. So is KTTW for, yay, if you guys see that. I will add that to the notes too. But Destiny does offer this service of helping you figure out your dog's nutrient requirements based on NRC, based on your dog's weight. And she did it for me. You can reach out to her. She, again, is on Facebook, and she will charge a very affordable fee. She did all of my dogs. What's nice is that, a couple of my dogs were the same weight, so I didn't have to pay for all of the dogs. She's just pretty awesome. So you can get that stuff. Kelly, the test we're talking about is PARSLEYPET, the nutritional blueprint testing. I have a code KTTW for $50 off, and that's forever. By the way, if you order multiple tests, it will only take $50 off your order. If you place an order for each test individually, then you get a $50 off each test individual. So little fun fact there. I think at least that's how it was the last time I ordered. Okay, awesome. Jody, I'm coming in late to this live session, so this may have been covered by Kimberly. You know what, Jody, let me get back to you because I don't think I finished Courtney's. So do we know what they need? This is my opinion, Courtney. I do not believe that we know what dogs need nutritionally. I think we have a good idea. Some people, I learned this from Nora Lenz. She is the founder of rotational monofeeding. And I don't have a source for this, and I wasn't able to find it, but I do find it interesting. And she mentioned that, like, with the human body, we only know about 10% of what humans need nutritionally. So she was like, I can't imagine that we know much more for dogs. And that made me really think about, how do we know these things? What were the dogs, when they were tested, and what were they like? What were the breeds? How old were they? What were they fed? Were they subjected to vaccinations? Where did they live? What was the soil like? Was the weather like? What was their day-to-day life like? How much exercise did they get? There are so many questions to consider when thinking about what our dogs need nutritionally, but it's impossible for anyone to answer all those questions and satisfy every dog. So we have the best information that we can, and thankfully we have a lot of people that are continuing to build on that information. A few years ago, someone told me that Dr. Becker and Dr. Kosher and others were working to put together a raw food version of like FDF and AFCO. And that would be pretty amazing, and something that we could actually reach to and learn from and figure out, what do our dogs need? Because again, like with AFCO, those numbers are based on kibble diets. And so, I mean, it's not to say that they're invalid, but how does that measure against a dog fed a raw food diet? Does that mean that our dogs are super, nutrient rich diet? Or are we at risk of, doing, excess toxic levels? I don't think so, but there's a lot of questions there. So ultimately, I overthink everything, so I try not to think too much. But I do think the simple answer is, I don't think anyone really knows what a dog needs nutritionally. We're all doing the best we can, and thankfully, we do have at least 3 resources that are trusted to do this by. And for raw food brands that balance to AFCO standards, I don't think that I used to think that, why would you want to do that? Now I'm just like, they're doing the best that they can while trying to keep the FDA off their back. So I respect that. Now back to Jody. The vast majority of pet food recipes online are too low in iodine, vitamin D and E, manganese, zinc, and choline. And yes, that is part of the the article over on UC Davis, where it lists all of those things as far as what those recipes. The thing about it is that 95% of recipes online are only deficient in like one of these, but 83% of recipes online are deficient in several of these areas. And these are legit, important nutrients for our dogs to have, but it is something to really think about. So Megan, I have a beagle. I'm going to just put you guys up here. I have a beagle that is super crazy, particular about what he eats. He doesn't even like regular cooked proteins, gags at organs. He likes free-dried, not rehydrated, mostly only small batch, but that gets expensive for me. So I try to mix that with a couple of other cheaper freeze-dried to stretch it out. I was so frustrated and worried about him for months, but now it's like, okay, dude, whatever. I keep offering him other stuff because my other dog is DIY raw. Maybe one day he will get with the program. You know what? That is awesome. My cat will not eat freeze-dried pet food if I've hydrated it. He wants it straight out the bag. And so I just provide plenty of water near, or, in the room so he can stay hydrated. He has a nice little cute water fountain. So that's how I'm doing. And, when it comes to like, you keep offering, for 6 months, Rodrigo stopped eating raw and I started cooking for him. So I felt like a short order cook. But recently he went right back to eating raw again. And what I found is that he wants his food heated up. And it started by just adding warm food to the bowl. I was doing it with green beans because Scout gets hungrier because of the prednisone. And I was just thinking, did I give him prednisone today? I did. And so I would give him a low calorie treat like green beans, and I would heat it up because I just grab a bag out of the freezer. And Rodrigo loved him. So I one day mixed him into his food. He ate his raw food. So now I just feed him food at room temperature, which is actually more recommended because in the wild, if our dogs are eating a fresh kill, it's going to be actually hot, not frozen or cold. So my holistic veterinarian asked me to do that, and I hear Dr. Morgan say things about it all the time. AFCO to me is survival, not thriving. I agree. Is there a formulator that does NRC? That I do not know. I know that there is another formula. I think it's a pet diet designer, but I don't know what it's based on. I've only looked at it one time. It was way too overwhelming to me. And I was already learning the animal diet formulator, so I just stayed there. But definitely check out my spreadsheet. VDF. What's VDF? I don't know what that means. Did I say VDF? What did I say? VDF. I don't know. I don't know what I was trying to say. I feel like that sounds familiar, but I don't know what I was trying to say. Okay. Thanks for the pet info to help us. Oh, thank you very much. So if I have two 10-pound dogs who eat the same diet, I could just test one? No. I mean, you could and hope that that's right. But for instance, I have 4 dogs, but Rodrigo, since he has exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, and even before he was diagnosed with that, he just didn't absorb nutrients the way other dogs did. And he's very sensitive to some nutrients. So there are areas where, like, for instance, after I tested my dogs the first time, we had to change our dish detergent because I used to use the Blue Dawn. And I just didn't think about it. I washed the dog dishes and their water dishes, never really thought about it. But when I tested them the first time, there is I think it might be borax or something like that, that is an ingredient in Blue Dawn, not the regular Dawn, but Blue Dawn. Rodrigo was high in that, but none of the other dogs were. And they all eat from the same dishes every day. They're all together. That was like the strangest thing. So he absorbs nutrients a lot differently than my other dogs do. And he, gets rid of things a lot differently than my other dogs do. So if I were to only test him, I would think all of my dogs had this. So I would, at least for me, test at least 2 dogs. But if I only had 2 dogs, honestly, I would test the dog that I had any type of concerns with. So if you have a dog that has allergies, that has digestive issues, I would test that dog. And it's not so much that you're going to cure allergies or cure digestive issues, but I think as you go down the path to cure, that test is going to come in handy. And I think that that's the dog that might have nutrient deficiencies, because all of the things that I just discussed have to do with the immune system that lives in the gut. This is all straight off the top of my head, not a veterinarian, not a nutritionist, just a blogger. But that's what I would do. Eddie says, so have you considered muscle testing or dowsing? I don't know what that is, to specifically let your dog's body and soul speak to what is needed. Good practitioners in this can get exact info. I learned about this from a pet store owner that I always see at Super Zoo. Destiny, you should really come to Super Zoo this year. If you want to, I'll put you on my account. So she actually can do muscle testing on animals, but she can actually do it on food too. And she's like, that's how she determines what products she'll bring into her store and what don't. And so whenever I see her at Super Zoo, I will ask her, like, what are you staying away from? This isn't stuff that I share online. I just stop talking about that product and I stop bringing it into my home because I so trust her. If I can find someone nearby that did something like that, I would definitely do that. And I would do it probably every 6 months as long as it was affordable. But I will start looking into that. Thank you. Megan, she said it's recommended to test. Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you, Megan. Dowsing is wonderful, but I have seen some use it improperly. Please understand that reading on a frequency level is possible, real, and true. Love it. Destiny, I have noticed a difference in feeding warm or room temperature food versus straight from the fridge with my pets for sure. Ashley says, I think they could, they said cold food is bad for the spleen. See, and that's what my holistic vet is saying. And where she is actually treating Scout, basically the underlying conditions that have led to him getting canine lymphoma. And by the way, you guys, 17 months post-diagnosis. And he's doing great. He's just over there chilling. Okay. But yes. And boron. Thank you, Destiny. That's the ingredient that's in Blue Dawn. Megan, I've had dogs before, but these are my first raw fed dogs. I've always felt in tune with my pets, but I feel like raw feeding and holistic alternative pet care instead of the norm. Like everything we are learning. FEDF. Okay, what you said, VDF. I'm sorry, guys. No games. I meant FEDF, and that's I think it's FEIDF. It's the initials for the UK version of AFCO. There, I knew I would remember. Okay, sorry about that, Megan. Like everything we are learning about makes us even more connected with our pets. 100% agree. It's amazing. And the community of humans are awesome too. I'm so grateful that my dog has led me down this expensive but amazing rabbit hole. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, you guys, Megan, and I think Megan, No Games, and Eddie Wall, are going to like my next upcoming blog post. I'm going to stay up tonight working on it and hope to get it published before midnight. Okay, so please look up dowing. Okay, dowsing is remote okay. I will look for this. I will look for this tonight. I might not get that blog post written after all. So that is all. This questions seem to be dying down. I want to say thank you guys for tuning in and doing this with me. I've been on here way longer than what I planned. I was actually only planning for 20 minutes. But ultimately, to get back to the original topic, which is 95% of homemade pet diets are lacking in crucial nutrients. I'm not surprised that this is the case. I absolutely believe that this is true, even though their study only contained 200 recipes. Try running 200 recipes through the Animal Diet Formulator software. It's no easy feat. So I love it. I love having the information, even though I'm getting it almost 10 years later. But I don't want this to discourage you from doing DIY raw if that's something that you want to do. There are so many ways that we can work to meet our dog's nutritional needs. And one thing that I've done is I've learned from so many different people. So instead of like, no, you have to do it this way. No, I look at other different people and I pull from what others are doing. So I add things based to my dog's diet because I hear about someone else that talks about it and what their experience is, or I talk to someone like Nora Lenz of rotational mono feeding. Even though I don't follow that raw feeding model, I took information from it because I really love what they had to say. Same thing with, prey model, and same thing with barf model. I think there is really great nuggets of content in everything that all of us are doing. And because our dogs are so unique, it behooves us to learn from everywhere. So thank you guys for taking the time, sticking with me tonight, and educating me, because every time I do one of these, I walk away with so much knowledge. And it is 8 o'clock and I still have to write like a 10,000 word blog post. No joke. And I'm going to be Googling dowsing. So, I will talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic Thursday and upcoming Friday. Bye, guys.